the T20 World Cup, the recently concluded tournament, which obviously you mentioned England, Pakistan made the final. What did you think of the Pakistan batting approach? Because they've received quite a lot of criticism despite reaching the final, particularly Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan. What did you make of that?
I think firstly the pitches and up front because of the weather patterns in Australia, the pitches and up against the new ball was quite tricky. So quite quickly, Babar lost form in Australia, which is about the first time I can say that about Babar, where he actually looked. There'd been times where he wasn't scoring, but that was the first time he actually looked out of form, Babar Azam. He's always so pleasing on the eye. But, the movement up front, that pitch against India, the way it moved around and a couple of low scores, and the format, he's suddenly out of nick. So one thing it did do, it enabled that middle order that hadn't been firing. They had to, in the middle part of the tournament, had to deliver, and they did that. They did that, spectacularly against South Africa, and they found some form. Their bowlers, like I say, if their batting can get par, what they didn't do in the final was get par. They got 150. Even in that final, they fell away. They were in a good position. And in the last 4 or 5 overs, they got another 20 runs. I reckon they win that game. But they didn't. And I think that's why Babar and Rizwan have to bat the way they do up front. It's because for England, with Livingston at 7 and, Rashid at 10 or 11, 20 overs is not a long time, so they can just go out and tee off. So Pakistan, with their batting line-up, and they don't have Surya Kumar Yadav coming in at 4, or so Babar and Rizwan have to just bide their time a little bit, because 20 overs is quite a long time for that batting line-up. So the difference is, if they do get a pass score, then with their bowling attack, they are well in the game, and they nearly pulled it off. If Shaheen hadn't got injured, it's a double-edged sword, that catch to dismiss Brook. If he hadn't got injured, you'd never know. A couple of tight overs, and Stokes and Ali wouldn't have gambled the way they did.
Now, speaking of Babar Azam, I mean, captaining Pakistan in one format is hard enough, but captaining Pakistan in 3 formats is, enough to drive anyone crazy. Do you think it's to Babar's benefit that he's captaining all 3 formats, or is it something that he should look at, perhaps to give up one format of the captaincy?
Yeah, only he knows that, really. I'm not sitting on the fence. Only he knows if it's taking its toll on him. One thing he can't do, and it didn't with Root, actually, and Root wasn't captain in all formats, but Root was captain during COVID, and he's spoken since about mentally how much it took out of him and how much of a drain, but he kept his runs going. With Babar, for me, Babar's a little bit like Joss Butler in white ball cricket. The most important thing with Joss is his batting, and then his captaincy, and the same with Babar. If you're asking me, like I've just said, who's the key wicket for England, is getting Root. Who's the key wicket that you want in this Test series? If you keep getting Babar cheaply, you're going to win this Test series. So, for me, Babar has to decide: is it affecting his batting in any way? Is it weighing, the pressures of captaincy and especially being Pakistan, captain, 1 defeat, and everyone has their opinion and their say. And so, is it affecting his batting? And only he knows that. But in general, the captaincy is, his record is still phenomenal. He lost form in the T20 World Cup. He came back with a couple of scores at the end. So Babar has to just continuously from now on weigh the fact that his workload and what effect is it having on the best batsman in Pakistan cricket at the moment.
That's India versus Pakistan. Without getting into the politics and all that nonsense of those matches and what's going on behind the scenes, surely the world of cricket needs more India versus Pakistan matches.
Yeah, look, I don't want to get into the politics of it all, mate. You know, I absolutely love those events. I wasn't working on the one this time. I was in Hobart, and I don't often watch every game of every tournament, but I made sure I rushed to Hobart. I was on a flight, rushed to my hotel, ordered some room service, and watched it. And, you know, what a game of cricket. One of the great games of cricket you will ever want to see. And it's sold out. And the crowds and the fans, the way the crowd and the fans get on, the way the players get on, you know, the feeling between the players and the understanding between the players that it is just a game of cricket. It's an important game of cricket for obvious reasons for so many people, but they keep it just a game of cricket with great passion and the camaraderie between the teams. So, you know, I'm a bit torn. I would love to see more Pakistan-India. I would love to see a Pakistan-India test match at Mumbai or Karachi or wherever. That's where the politics comes in. I guess the flip side is because we don't see it, what happens is that we end up, those ICC events become even more special, don't they? Because you wait for them and, you know, it's not like England, Australia, 4 days after the World Cup, they're playing each other again in another 3 matches, you know. So the one good thing about it is that when it is at an ICC event, it is often well worth the wait. I was lucky enough to be commentating in Dubai, and that spell that Shaheen bowled, and the atmosphere in the crowd, and it is a real, you know, it is the biggest game in world cricket, without a doubt.
Nasser, you mentioned about Australia, England there playing against each other. It was sad to see the MCG with just a few hundred fans. Do you think ODIs is a dying format, or are some countries playing each other too often? Is it becoming overkill?
It's just the schedule, mate. You know, there's no way. It's like England last time, you know, 5 days after they won the 2019 World Cup, they're playing Ireland in a test match. And you know, unsurprisingly, Johnny Bairstow bags a pair. You know, of course he's going to bag a pair. He's still living and celebrating the 50-over World Cup. You know, 4 days after England win the 20-over World Cup, they're playing Australia in a meaningless 3, 50-over games. And, you know, there is a financial crisis going out there, a cost of living crisis. People can't just afford to be forking out for World Cup tickets and then bilateral tickets, and, you know, less is more sometimes. You know, Stokes, you know, that's why I retired from the 50-over format. It's just overkill. You know, the ICC have their schedules, and they're going to have a tournament every year, and in between, the individual boards just fill up every available slot with cricket, and it's the players in the end that will, you know, take its toll. Yeah, and to a degree, I mean, I know England lost 3-0, but England are lucky to have quite a lot of depth to their cricket in their players, and you saw Ben Duckett in, you know, the side that England buy, even when they rest Wood and they rest Butler, they still have a lot of depth, but, you know, some of the other sides don't have that depth. So, and also, there's a lot of cricket for certain sides. You know, we saw some of the, you know, not lower, whatever the word is, some of the other nations that are craving more cricket and what they did in that World T20, sides like Zimbabwe and Ireland and whatever. So it is an unfair playing field at the moment, and it needs looking at. You know, I thought Butler spoke really well at the end of 3 white ball games and just mentioned the schedule and mentioned, you know, the meaning. Every game of cricket has to have some kind of. That's why the World T20 was great. That's why Pakistan, India is great. It has to have some kind of meaning, not just another 3 random 50-over games after a World Cup.
And that's finally just on that schedule, and you're saying that it can become a bit of overkill. We're seeing 5 Test series only played between certain countries. You know, we're not seeing many 5 Test series. Do you think that's unfortunate, or is that again the scheduling?
That's the scheduling, really. You know, we can't have it both ways. I can't moan about having too much cricket and then saying, well, everything needs to be 5. You know, one thing I will say, Saj, is that it is a sort of nice problem to have, is that if, you know, TV companies or whatever, if, you know, all this franchise stuff, the PSL is a great tournament, obviously the IPL, the 100, things like that, is that TV companies want this cricket, so it shows there's a real want and a need for cricket, albeit from TV companies, not so much from crowds in that white ball series in Australia. So at least we've got a sport that people are still loving and want more of, but there is a critical point that comes where people are just going to say this is overkill. So occasionally, yeah, I mean, the Ashes obviously a 5-match series. Yeah, so I mean, it would be great if there were more. If this was a 5-match series, or England-Pakistan in England was a 5-match series, but there's just not enough time in the schedule, really. So I quite like that last one being a 7-match series, actually, the T20s. I think what boards have to do is tailor-make their schedule to what the next event is. So, you know, like now, from this year coming up with the 50-over World Cup in India, you know, sides should be playing 50-over cricket. There's no reason they should be playing 20-over cricket, whereas in the last year, there was no reason for England to be playing meaningless 50-over games when there was a T20 World Cup coming up. So I think every board and whoever's in charge of fixtures need to tailor-make their scheduling to what the next big tournament is, and just not fit in more and more cricket all the time. So, but it's a good sign that there is still a huge love. I mean, the interest in that World Cup was huge, so it's a great sign that there is a massive love of the game out there.
Nasser, I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a fantastic time out there in Pakistan. But from my perspective, and probably from many Pakistanis' perspectives, it's not as successful as your last trip out there.
I'm looking forward to Karachi, Saj. That's all I can see. Turn your TV off, because I will mention it 1,000 times. I will ask who was the last England captain to win in Karachi.